Hello everyone, and welcome to the video on the second declension. Let's do some review first about the first declension. Remember, there are 5 cases, and all of these cases have a role to play with regards to nouns. So here's our nominative case, and that's in charge of the subject. We have the genitive case, which is in charge of possession, and we use the word of to translate it. We have the dative case, which is in charge of the indirect object, and we use the word to translate it. The accusative case is in charge of the direct object. The ablative case is in charge of the prepositions. And we remember this by SPIDO, S-P-I-D-O, subject, possession, indirect object, direct object, and object of a preposition. And here we said never go date agros alone. There you go. And for the first declension, we have the endings, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative, and they come in singular and plural forms. A, am, a, arum, is, as, is. So now we have to learn what roots or stems to put these endings on. When we study nouns in Latin, we have to look at both forms, the nominative singular and the genitive singular, and look at the endings, the a and the a. That tells us that it's part of the first declension, so these are probably going to be feminine nouns. And we go to the second word in order to find the root, and we just take off the ending, which gives us the root agricole. And to that we add our endings. So, now it's time to talk about the second declension, and the good news is this. You do the same thing with different endings. You find the root the same way, and you add the endings the same way, and all the cases actually remain the same. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. That will never change. So we have here an example of a second declension noun, carus, cari. This is the nominative singular, genitive singular. So we're going to use this genitive singular right here to find our root. And we're going to take off the I, which is the ending, and car is going to be our root. Turns out it means car, a carriage or cart. So we do the same thing for agricola, agricole. We take off the AE, and agricole would be our root. Now let's find out what the second declension endings look like. Here they are. We have nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative, and singular and plural as usual. Here are the endings. Us, I, o, I, orum, is, os, is. Let's do it again. Us, I, o, I, orum, is, os, is. Faster. Us, I, o, I, orum, is, os, is. There you go. Now we can draw some similarities between this second declension endings and the first declension endings. For example, in the dative and ablative plural, here and here, they're exactly the same as in the first declension. Not only do they repeat one another in the first declension, but they also repeat one another in the second declension, is and is. Also, the genitive plural, orum, is very similar to what we saw in the first declension, which was arum. So we're starting to see a pattern here already with all the O's in the second declension, and we saw a lot of A's in the first declension. Us is the nominative singular. Here we see a similarity again. We have the genitive singular, which is I, and the nominative plural, which was I. They copy one another, just like they did in the first declension. They were both AE, like this. So we can see some similarities there. Okay? So now let's put it all together. We are going to decline our second declension noun. Carus cari, meaning cart or wagon. Carus, cari, caro. Carum, caro. Cari, carorum, caris, caros, caris. This would mean the carriage, the carriages. Of the carriage, of the carriages. To the carriage, to the carriages. The carriage, the carriages. By the carriage, by the carriages. Now you try. Try your best to decline by yourself the noun servus servi, which means slave. We know it's a second declension noun because of the endings us, e. If it were a first declension noun, it would have to end in an a. Decline the second declension noun for bell work tomorrow. Good luck.